It was here. He came through. All right. Let's see what. All right. Oh, that's right. All right. Okay. Well, I guess this one's called "We Just Don't Want No One to Suffer." Okay, a little more of the. We just don't want no one to suffer. Why, we just don't want no one to suffer. Okay, that should be good enough. So the deal is with transgenderism. In it's a type of it's basically, I mean, it's a continuation of certain practices associated with slavery. Now, I've talked about circumcision being that, and it's practiced by the Egyptians. The Egyptians were an advanced civilization with technologies that we don't fully understand. As a collective anyway. We don't fully understand as a collective. A lot of that kind of information is classified. The Masons are keepers of it, the high level ones anyway. The rest of them, I mean, a lot of those people are good hearted people actually, and they're just wanting to network and, not get killed and all that kind of thing. Yeah, I'm in a Masonic cemetery. You can see there's a mausoleum in the style of the Egyptians down the hill over there. You know, showed that in this other video of mine. The Egyptians, they had free energy. They had all kinds of stuff. They used mind control technologies, wireless mind control technologies. We know that. It's a very, very clear. There's all kinds of books written about. You can figure it out. Tesla, he read some so he read some kind of book that it was a suppressed book. It was about Egyptian civilization. There must have not been too many copies, but he read one. He read just such a book as a boy, and that led him to invent a lot of stuff, and that got him started, as far as we know. Back in the day, one form of slave was a eunuch. Sometimes they just make eunuchs. It's like a what is it called? A gelding. If you remove the testicles of a horse, you get a gelding, a more manageable animal. Right. Not so fiery, not so likely to kick you. Kick a hole in your, crumple your chest, whatever, break your leg, shatter your femur, taking you off your feet, and all that. I had a horse. I had a horse nearly kicked me in the thigh one time. It just shot right past my thigh. Let's see. I think she was. I think it was a mare. I think a racehorse. And I went and got my used a garden hose and attached it to a stick, and I made I cut strips the end to make it like a real fine high accelerated points whip these creatures, and if they did something I didn't like, I would talk to them. I knew they understood, but I would philosophize and I would whip them and we need to return to such days, such splendorous uh, days, where we got a higher, connection, a deeper connection to nature, and we need to go outward in every direction to the south, and live a more natural lifestyle, Hell, if I had my way, we'd have goats and sheep grazing all over this land here, So you have these eunuchs, and so they get these ideas, all this slave culture springs out of the enslavement of animals, I anticipate future animal husbandry to be more natural, just wild herds of livestock and stuff, essentially. I like the idea of having the American bison out there. That's a good idea. You just hunt them. You don't try to manage them so much. You hunt them. But yeah, that works out. That works out a whole lot better, and it's a lot less. It's a lot less evil. So anyway, I mean, you look at a lot of the technologies associated with transgenderism, the different surgeries. These were invented a long time ago, and it's not all that advanced. I mean, certainly, I mean, you would expect by now that they would have like gene therapies, and people could actually grow the organs of the opposite sex, in their own bodies, or extending out of their bodies, and so on and so forth. As it, and there are stories, there are old myths about this kind of thing happening. So these things used to be possible. They had technologies in the past, various places in the world, where that was possible. These were recorded events. There's no reason to make these things up. People actually did change their sex. Not just their gender, but their sex. That actually was a thing that used to happen sometimes in certain places. But so I mean, it's unbelievable to me that such technologies don't actually exist and aren't in the hands of some elite segments of the population. But see, the problem is that people want to use transgenderism as a form of punishment. They want to use it for eugenics purposes, to X people out of the gene pool, just like they used to send some girls that they disfavored into nunneries, or send some young men into a monastery, and you had this monk in some Italian monastery, someplace in the Alps. He wrote this epic poem, or it's this epic poem, the Carmina. It was turned into this opera called the Carmina Burana. He took that thing. He thought it was evil, and he threw it in a fireplace, and it was mainly a lot of it just got burnt up, but there's some under the ashes, and that got made into this opera, this famous opera, where he's they crying, what happened to him, in his life, all the confluence of events that led to him being sort of banished, marginalized, and banished from society, and this becoming a monk being his only remaining option. You know, um, so a lot of sob stories out there. A lot of sob stories out there uh, associated, with people being denied the right to reproduce, and this basically happened with me as a kid. They said this guy, he's too inventive, um, he's too dangerous, and they were just projecting onto me all the evils in their own hearts. These were people who had been in Vietnam, and they'd seen all this killing, and I mean, they saw how inventive the Vietnamese were, and then they, with all their booby traps and all that stuff, and further, they didn't like the fact that I was circumcised, and they associated that with the gooks, because they're not circumcised either, and so that was another thing, so that they used to justify what they did to me. Um, so it's interesting. It is interesting. It is interesting. They're killing me right now. Um, you got some little implants, and there's an RF frequency operated, valve, and it's, opening. It's like connected up with muscles, and they just pulse this, and it pulses the EMF, and it has biological effects. It causes muscle contractions and different things, with the nerves. The nerves trigger that, and my bones are dissolving and I'm urinating a lot. That's a sign. This is a sign, a sure sign. So my bones are dissolving to balance the pH in my blood and other tissues, and they're killing me. I don't know how old I am biologically. I'm 40 years old, but I don't know how old I might be much older now. So I'm undergoing accelerated aging right now. I got the sense that I can repair myself because I know what you do, but it's really awful what they're doing. It's really awful what they're doing. Anyhow, see, the thing is, I'm in a spot where I have to expose this. I have to expose this. I have to bear this cross, because if I don't, then I know. I mean, I prevision other people having a worse time than me, and eventually, I mean, enough universal cycles, I'm going to have to take their place. I don't know. Maybe that's a delusion. It's like a Gnostic delusion that these people are inflicted with, that the clockwork elves sold them on, these certain demons, and I don't know. I don't know. Hopefully there's just heaven and hell. That would work out better. Maybe purgatory. I don't know. Anyway, folks, so I remember, what I'm about to do is let me say, it's totally socially unacceptable, and they engineered it this way, and they know how shallow you are and how easily triggered you are. The average person is an idiot. I'm sorry. The average person just can't see, the forest for the trees, and the average person is lost in the sauce and stumbling around, and they don't know how to take the direction or look up. Well, let's see, where's the sun? And which side of the tree is the moss on, and what The average person is a poor survivalist. The average person is, um, dominated by this subset of psychedelic supermen, you know, who are nihilists, and they're sociopaths, and part of it's the war culture and going to war and being in a military family and having, and then all the economic deprivations of the Great Depression and the Civil War and all this stuff, all this stuff. So, needless to say, I mean, people have splintered off in all kinds of strange directions. There's a lot of people out there in the world, It's a complex world. Sorry, sorry. So I mean, what I'm doing, it's going to be, it's going to make me a villain. It's just going to make me a villain. So in the final analysis, I also want to say that I don't really know. I mean, games are being played with me. I've just been a human experiment. Um, you know, but it's not so much experimental. It's application. They've done similar things with other people. It's just, I'm being managed. These people are in. They're part of this population management field. A lot of research is done. Some of there are products that will come out. 10 years from now, 20 years from now. A lot of this stuff. A lot of it pretty much has to come out after a person's dead. They're interested in killing me off as quickly as they possibly can. They've told me this. They like gloating and yeah. So the deck's been stacked and stacked and stacked and stacked and stacked and stacked in every direction. So it's like